welcome to Startup Central. I'm Nayantara Rai. Today my guest is a serial entrepreneur who gave up a dream career in hospitality. He was the president of the Oberoi group. Kapil Chopra, you really had an enviable career, scaling new heights, but then you decided, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. You gave it all up. 3 startups, if I'm not mistaken. EazyDiner Postcard Hotel, the first hospitality chain in the luxury business, launched after the Leela, the first I think in 2 or 3 decades, and charity beds. Today we'll talk about EazyDiner. 4.5 years old, 5 years old, how's the run been? Was it worth it giving up the Oberoi?
No, I think, Nayantara, first of all, thank you for having me on Startup Central. I think it's been an amazing journey, and I also believe that, I look back upon my life and I think ever since I was in class 12th, all I wanted to do was be an entrepreneur. And even when I was in any job, I actually did that job, from the perspective of the fact that kind of I owned the hotel. I owned the company. So there was a very high level of ownership. There was a very high level of risk taking. I remember many years back when we opened the Trident in Gurgaon, the average room rates in Gurgaon used to be $80, and the Trident became the biggest rockstar success. Was selling at $400. Average occupancy in November used to be 99% month to date. So there was always something for me to really challenge myself. And I think nothing challenges you more than a startup. And I think every single corporate CEO should actually do a 2-year stint in startups to understand.
A sabbatical?
As maybe a sabbatical.
Stakes are very high to do that. You're talking about real money, right?
Yeah, I know. But I also believe that you can only understand what exponential growth is when you work in a startup. Otherwise, when you run a very big listed company, what you're looking at is incremental growth. And I think the world today is moving to exponential growth. And when you think exponential, I think it can change your entire mindset of building better businesses, building them faster, and innovating constantly. I don't think I would have learned any of these things if I would have continued in a corporate job. Which
so let me ask you a very cheeky question. I'm asking this on behalf of any of the CEOs that might be tuning in or those that are in the corporate world. You really did achieve a lot. You became the only person outside the Oberoi family to ever have the designation that you did. I'm sure that was complemented by a very big fat salary package. Do you make more now, because that is of course going to be something that people are going to weigh in if they're going to give up the corporate world, right? And I don't mean satisfaction, we're talking about the bucks.
So when you do a startup, it's a choice.
Because you can't draw that kind of salary, right?
Yeah, so because if you have a majority stake in a startup, you of course can't draw that kind of salary because, means you're actually taking from one pocket into the another pocket, yeah? But I also believe, Nayantara, that, if money is the only motivation, then, I can pick up any job. There are like hundreds available at my level to be going and running luxury hospitality groups or to be looking at very high customer service oriented businesses that I can be heading. But I think it's a call that you take, and it's a call that I took. And I'll tell you, and that's why I always tell all my people to read a lot, because I think 2 things change you, Nayantara. One is travel, because you go to new destinations, so it changes you. And I think the second thing that changes you is reading. If you read, because both travel and reading actually take your world beyond the world you live in. You go into a different world. And I remember reading Jeff Bezos' Amazon. Everybody keeps on quoting Steve Jobs a lot. Okay, so I will try and refrain not to quote. But absolutely inspirational. He's inspirational. But I'll quote Jeff Bezos in a way because the fact is, I read about a very nice chapter on what he says is the minimization regret theory. So he was a top trader at a company and he quit and he left $1 million bonus to go and start selling books on the internet. Yeah, today Amazon is Amazon. Everybody knows pretty much the top 3 companies in the world. So I think the most important thing was minimization regret is that when you are 85, if you live till 85, would you ever regret not doing something? Yeah. And the answer to that, I applied that to my life. I loved what I did in the hotel space, and we opened some great hotels during my tenure. But
what if you wanted to cross off the
regret was, could I have done something more beyond the hotel space to still impact a business which actually gave me my livelihood for the last 25 years. And the answer to that was minimize your regrets, build an eating out platform where people can wake up and they never have to wait in a line and they can get exposed to great restaurants, served through great menus, go and book their meal, pick up a coffee from Starbucks.
I got it,
or
yeah.
a chai from Chai Point.
But tell
or
me
Chai
something, it must have been a challenge because Indians don't really believe in the reservation system, right? You're talking about changing a mindset.
Yeah, so you know, so initially when I was trying to go through the business plan, and I was never, with the company full time when we started. I was just a shareholder in the company. Because I had a position at a listed company. So it was just an investment.
I got it.
Yeah, but I think the bigger point was that behaviors are changing faster. Indians never used to book taxis also in advance. And if you really look at it, Indians never had grocery delivered to their homes on an app and they had ordered. So I think in a lot of cases, from what I saw was the fact that behaviors were automatically changing. And you know, there was another inflection point, like the minimization regret theory, there was another inflection point. I was running the Oberoi and the Trident in Gurgaon. And what really happened with the Oberoi and the Trident in Gurgaon, that we had Cyber Hub open. And Cyber Hub opened with 50 restaurants. But all those 50 restaurants were full from the very first day that they opened. And that entire supply got absorbed. And in spite of that, the Oberoi and the Trident business grew by 10% and more.
So you got the idea first because you were running some of the national capitals region's most famous, most popular restaurants, but you're trying to change a mindset for even if I'm going to a restaurant which is not that popular, that it makes sense to reserve because I get a discount or I get a payback or I earn some points, etc. So is this model also of EazyDiner funnily based on that you have to give the customer incentive to make a reservation?
So that's a very good question, Antara, but just to share an example with you, 20% of all reservations on EazyDiner actually don't have any incentive. The biggest reason is convenience. Whether you look at a top restaurant like Indian Accent, or whether you look at a very, very popular but a very happening restaurant like Barbecue Nation, and there are 150 of them across the country. They're exclusively on EazyDiner, and the only reason to book them on EazyDiner is actually convenience, because otherwise you will not get a table. So I think consumer mindsets in the last 5 years have changed so much. Try getting a table in any suburb in India on a Friday night, Saturday night, or for Sunday brunch, and there is no chance you will get in without waiting unless you booked it on EazyDiner.
Which brings me to the next question, which is that we're talking at a time when the economy is in a slowdown, consumption is on its way down. I would imagine that when you're crossing off things to save money, eating out is going to be one of that. Have you witnessed that on EazyDiner?
So, you know, at our level, Nayantara, and I always say this, you know, I always used to say this when I used to run Oberoi also, was that the fair market share of the competition is zero. Yeah, as any CEO, that's what you should aspire for, which is a utopian statement, doesn't really happen in real life. But from that perspective, I know there is a slowdown in the economy, I know what's happening, but please appreciate that we've just, I think, touched 2%, 3% of the market. So for the slowdown to really start hitting EazyDiner or EazyDiner numbers, I think it's going to be 2040 and not earlier. So I think the sky's the limit, because digital penetration in restaurants is actually still at a very nascent stage. A lot of restaurants in India actually shut down. And you know the reason they shut down?
Yeah, the restaurants shutting down every single day.
You know why? Because actually what's really happening is people are opening restaurants and spending a lot of capital expenditure opening restaurants, but actually not looking at how they're going to market restaurants. They're not looking at how they're going to design their menus, and when they're going to market restaurants, they're not looking at how are they going to capture customer data. Let me give you an interesting statistic. 99.5% restaurants in India, including all luxury hotel restaurants, do not even have a digital reservation diary for customer relationship management. So when you walk into a hotel, they will tell you, welcome Nayantara, you've stayed with us 10 times, because they take your check-in on a computerized system. But when you walk into a restaurant, 99.5% restaurants still taking pen and paper reservations. Once the register is full, they throw away that valuable data. So now you've gone to the restaurant 120 times because it's your favorite restaurant, and you're just lucky if the server recognizes you. Otherwise, just forget it. And if you go after a year, and maybe it's the 121st time that you're going, nobody recognizes you, because restaurants have not put a system like that in place. And let me tell you another interesting statistic, that in the United States or even in China, the hottest startups today are actually in the in-restaurant automation space. How can you service the customer better when he's in the restaurant? Nobody's actually looked at these things. And you know,
are you going to be looking at that?
We're already looking at that. We've got a product at EazyDiner called Live Table. So we are actually digitizing your data. We're giving the power of marketing in your own hands. Because please appreciate, EazyDiner was formed, you know, from a problem that we ourselves saw as restaurant owners and hoteliers. You know, so we are a tech company, but we are a tech company which is led by restaurateurs and hoteliers. We understand this space better. You can't come to us and tell us, you know, you don't know how to run a restaurant. We know how to run a restaurant. We've run restaurants. And not only me, the entire teams run restaurants. If you really look at our concierge, when you call our private concierge line at EazyDiner, and it's totally in-house, it's not outsourced to anybody, because we are very, very particular about quality. So when you call EazyDiner, you're speaking to one of our people, and at least 25% of that workforce, Nantara, is ex-chefs. So when they talk to you about food, they really know their food because they've cooked it. They've not read it from a textbook. They're not reading it.
You got chefs in your BPO? Basically, yeah. That's what you're trying to tell me?
You know, but the whole point is, I think, you know, a great statement I, saw on the Skiff forum 2 years back by the CEO of TripAdvisor. And he said, and TripAdvisor is kind of investing in all eating out platforms, yeah? And so they asked him, why are you doing this? And he says, the most important part of a trip is eating out, isn't it? I think eating out is a celebration. Now, what's happening in the Indian ecosystem is a lot of attention is going to food delivery because all the money is coming into food delivery. Everybody today wants to deliver everything to you home, whether it's milk, whether it's medicines, whether it's... So everybody wants you to just stay at home, okay? But the great statistic, if you really look at NRAI, the Nodal Restaurant Association in India, 75% of all F&B sales in India, all food and beverage sales in India is actually on eating out. Only 11% is food delivery. And the great part is that this 75% of the market is actually not serviced by too many people because it's a very difficult market to serve. So a lot of people, when I speak to them, say, but Zomato and Swiggy can also do this market. Sure they can. Like we can also do delivery. But if you look at it globally, let's look at the US. It's DoorDash for delivery. It's OpenTable and Resi for booking tables. It's Book a Table in the UK for booking tables. It's Deliveroo for delivery. It's Chop in Singapore for booking tables. It's Deliveroo in Singapore for delivery. Why? Because there are two different businesses. Delivery is more like a logistics business. While a restaurant reservation business is, you need to understand what are the dynamics of a restaurant and how that changes every hour. How does a restaurant look at 12:30 to 1:30? And then you need to make sure that people who are reserving on your portal don't have to wait. And that really has been one of the key reasons for the success of EazyDiner over the last 4.5 years.
Since you brought up all the controversial names, NRAI, Zomato, Swiggy, you can imagine my next question. You were also initially a part of the controversy. You also went for those meetings with the NRAI during the logout campaign, right? Did that hurt business? Are you in the good books of NRAI now? What is that looking like now?
So, you know, so I think first of all, what NRAI wanted to do was actually correct in a way, because I think the business had really gone into, the only sole purpose of the business had become discounting really in a very significant way. So what they did was actually right. Could it have been approached in a better way? I think, yeah. I think a stakeholder meeting could have been called with everybody before instead of doing this, because I think once you start killing consumer sentiment, especially in a time where there's recession, it actually starts pivoting down. So from our perspective, I think that was a key point. But I think the answer to that question, you should not be even asking me this question, because I think there was a tweet in the middle of the agitation by the founder president of NRAI saying that EazyDiner was actually maybe one of the only few companies which understood on how restaurants operated. Because we run restaurants, and actually we never had a deal product. So you see, my other problem, and I actually told NRAI that actually needed to be stricter in a way. Imagine, Nantara, you're boarding a flight, yeah, and I say a Delhi-Mumbai ticket is for 10,000 rupees, now board anytime you want to. That's what deal products do. Does Indigo does that? Does Vistara does that? There is actually no global example of only a deal product. You know, walk in, imagine if Indigo said, you know, buy one ticket.
You have to draw compare oranges with oranges. You're comparing oranges with apples as well.
No, not really. If you really
you're airline and restaurant. Come on, boss. It's oranges and apples.
But it's basically both are serviced by consumers. Both have perishable seat inventory. There's a very big example. Let me come to restaurants. If at 9 p.m., let's say you're a restaurant owner, Nantara, if at 9 p.m. everybody puts out a deal card and says, you know, you're thinking your restaurant's full, but everybody's pulled out a 50% card. Your sales gone into half at 9 p.m. Actually, and ideally, a restaurant should be able to control how many people will it take at 9 p.m. at a 50% discount. Yeah. So I think the basic rule of inventory management which applies
or the platform for offering the 50% discount subsidizes the discount, right?
Yeah. Either they subsidize the discount,
because then you know.
But which is very difficult because
I'm asking from a consumer perspective.
Yeah, from a consumer perspective, which is very difficult because bills are variable. How do you subsidize variable things? Okay, I don't know, your bill may be 1,000 rupees, something's 2,000 rupees. So my point is, why don't you allow the restaurant to choose how much he wants to give at what time? And
So you didn't suffer. You didn't suffer.
So from our perspective at EazyDiner, we never had a deal product. You couldn't walk in anytime. We wanted you to tell us
but
what time you wanted.
The restaurants did log out of EazyDiner
No,
temporarily
because restaurants,
for a weekend or two.
Yeah. So all restaurants did log out, but most of them came back very soon because we were able to explain to NRI that actually we are the only pure reservation product in the country. There is actually nobody else who's only doing restaurant reservations. From day one, we stayed true to the core of saying we will not allow people to walk in at whatever time and start pulling out discount cards because it is not a great economic practice. Also, why advance reservations? Please, let's now think from a restaurant perspective for 1 minute. When a restaurant knows that I'm going to get 40 people at 8:30, they can plan their staffing, they can plan their mise en place. Means, this is just restaurants for seating. Let me give you another example. Today we are working with companies like Burger King. Even before a Burger King outlet, let's say, opens in Vasant Kunj, it knows that on EazyDiner it sold 200 burgers. So, you can help people get more efficient. EazyDiner is not only helping you in marketing, it's not only helping you keeping your data, it's also helping you become more efficient, control your payroll better, manage your costs better.
But tell me something, now if I use EazyDiner or EazyDiner Prime, which is of course a subscription-based model, and I'm guessing your main revenue generator, the data that you'll be collecting, because you also encourage people to upload their bill, right? And you give points for that. Yes. So you have this fantastic data where that Nayanthara Rai at 2 p.m. likes to go to this restaurant, and typically she likes to eat salad and soup for lunch. You have that data. Does the restaurant have that data? Because it could be a great consumer insight for the restaurant too.
Yes, actually the bills are all shared with restaurants. So all the bills that we get are actually shared with restaurants. We also share great insights with restaurants. We also help them. So, from my perspective, Nayanthara, EazyDiner is a platform. So let's say, even if you are a great liquor company and you want to now launch a new brand in India, how do you launch it? How do you launch it across 100 restaurants at one given time? This is where we are able to come to you, and in this market this will work, in this market this will work. We're also able to share with restaurants insights on what people are eating at their restaurants. And from an outsider perspective, and saying, this is what we see are your top 5 dishes, this is what we see are your top 5 beverages. So in our case, no data is hidden. Every single piece of data is shared.
So why don't you charge restaurants money?
We charge restaurants money. Unlike a lot of other portals which were not charging restaurants for booking diners, we charge per diner. We are providing a service, we charge per diner, and restaurants are very happy to pay that fees because they know that a customer from EazyDiner is a genuine customer and is generally a customer who has a propensity to spend close to 50 to 80%, depending on the bills that we see, over the average APC of a restaurant. APC is average that they make per restaurant. So our EazyDiner customers
average per customer, you mean?
Yes. So our customers actually spend more, and they spend more not because they're on EazyDiner and not because you are interviewing me and I am the head of the board for EazyDiner, but they spend more because if you really look at who are our customers, let's look at Prime, EazyDiner Prime for 1 second. Yeah. EazyDiner Prime is American Express Centurion, American Express Platinum, Citibank Ultima, Citibank Prestige, IndusInd Pioneer, Axis Bank Burgundy, HDFC Good Times program. So pretty much everybody in India who can afford to eat out is actually an EazyDiner Prime subscription member.
How many members do you have?
Over 100,000.
Of Prime?
Of Prime.
And across the platform?
Across the platform, we have close to 3 million subscribers.
Almost 3 million subscribers is what you have.
On EazyDiner.
Are you profitable?
So, for a long time, I thought profitability was not the word to talk about in startups, which was very alien to me because I came from a sector where you had to declare results every 3 months. But I think our revenue growth is very, very robust. And honestly, I can very openly say, I think we'll definitely be profitable in the next 3 months. We are already heading towards profitability.
Before the end of the fiscal, EazyDiner is going to be profitable.
100%.
This is another thing in the startup universe. Is this unit commerce profitability or
cash minus EBITDA without capex cost? No, it's completely profitable. I think we'll be completely
the traditional sense of profitability, net profit, right?
It's like a real business. You're kind of running a real business, and that's really driven from a lot of the technology products that we put out in restaurants, predominantly by Live Table. Because now the industry is understanding they have a marketing tool which can keep them in business for longer, they can service their customers better, have higher customer retention. So my profitability is actually in a very bigger way actually being driven by Live Table, not by Prime or not by booking fees from that perspective. But actually the new technology vertical that we've started is actually leading to a great company.
While you're talking about that, I believe there's a new campaign, Thank the Stars, which I think is interesting because I think a lot of us are guilty of not appreciating. We tend to criticize more. Like that's what primarily, if you go through reviews of Zomato and Swiggy and all ago, they're more negative than positive, right? But you're trying to change that and make it more positive and maybe encourage the staff to also be on their toes to earn better points.
Yes. So you see, the whole idea.
You want to talk about the campaign?
Yeah. So from our perspective, I thought thank the stars is a way to say thank you. You know, because service industry, people work the longest hours, 18 hours, 20 hours a day sometimes in restaurants, especially in the season. And I thought, you know, from a perspective, it's tough. And if you smile, if a customer smiles, it makes a person's day. Means I've seen it over 25 years, Nayantara. Okay, and I think we wanted to launch something to recognize the stars who really make you, the chef who makes the food. So it's just not about I like the food. So if you really look at reviews in India today, they've been about the product, the ambience, the lighting and the music. We are saying, you know, in the service business, it's got to be about the people. And yes, the food, the product and the lighting and the music is great. But what about the people? Tell me who's great in this restaurant. I'm coming to your restaurant, tell me Nayantara, Kapil, Rohit, Rachit are some great servers here. And can I see them on the app? Yeah. And can I see them on the app when I'm coming into your restaurant? Can I know which are the 4 great servers in this restaurant serving me? Can I see their statuses? So we basically thought this is a great way to say thank you. People can do it. And again, we've kind of built our technology where you just have to tap, tap, tap. You don't have to fill. You don't have to write too much. We're making it easier for you. And again, one of the other things, because we believe in sharing everything, and that's why we believe that we are the first partner for any restaurant on eating out, is we will share insights with you as a restaurant to tell you your 4 best servers are Nayantara, Kapil, Rohit, Rachit. The dishes that people like in your restaurant are the margarita pizza, the spaghetti bolognese, and the minestrone soup. So everything else, I don't know, but these are the top 3 dishes that people like in your restaurant. And people come to your restaurant for the quality of food and the ambiance. And I know you've got a live band, but actually nobody ever mentioned that, yeah? So as an owner, imagine getting this insight every month. And also the fact that you would know as a customer that if somebody served you well, you've stopped by, spent 15 seconds to say thank you. And that server earns those points, Nayantara. And the biggest thing I believe is in the hospitality industry that we need to focus on in the restaurant business is skilling. How do we upskill people in our business? And that's what generates employment, yeah? A lot of these people come from very difficult backgrounds, especially in standalone restaurants.
How are you upskilling them? Because you give them feedback? Or?
No, so basically once they reach a point level of 5,000 points, we will get all of them, whichever city they are in, and in that city or somewhere, we are doing a full 3-day complete deep dive management workshop where people like you know, the top CEOs of hotel companies, top restaurant CEOs, guys like Riaz who have set up companies will come and talk about what it takes to run a restaurant. We'll talk about menu planning, we'll talk about contribution margins.
This could be a waiter, it could be the
a manager,
chef,
could be anybody.
Sous chef.
Yes.
So
2 days will be common and day 3 will be more specialized. If you're a chef, you will have a top celebrity chef like Chef Vineet Bhadia coming and talking to you and saying how to use your ingredients, what to do. So, and basically at the end of 3 days, if you have done well, and you will actually have a small exam to give there also, you've done well.
Exam also?
Yeah, because it's important that people retain what they learn. So a very small thing, interactive you know, session where you will earn a full certificate program after 3 days that you attended this program. This is how this program's helped you. So this is our way at EazyDiner of giving back to the industry.
But
I can always keep on asking restaurants, give me this, give me this, give me this. But what am I doing for the restaurants?
You're giving this back free of cost to the restaurant.
There's no charge to the
And they're willing to be part of this platform.
We have some of the top CEOs of restaurant companies actually come in and say, this is such an amazing idea. Because I think in a way, sometimes when it's so busy, I think even restaurant owners, restaurant CEO, even people like me who've run hotel chains, have forgotten to say thank you to everybody. And this is a way, and I think it's just a, you know, it's just a question of well-being in the winters in India, whether it's in the weather or whether it's in the economy. I think a little bit of gratitude will actually help everybody rise up.
You're just showing gratitude and thank you to Zomato and Swiggy for showing the way of collecting this kind of information from restaurants?
In terms of
because, you know, I mean, like without saying it in so many ways, reviews and you know, all of this used to be part of their territory.
Yes. So I think Zomato's done a great job in terms of content delivery and actually reviews. Swiggy started much later actually in the review space. Yeah, they've done actually a great job in the review space. But that is where we saw a gap. We thought that the entire review space, and not only with them, but you look at TripAdvisor, the biggest review site in the world, and we had an alliance with TripAdvisor, which we are actually moving away from. So we are one startup which is saying, you know, we love TripAdvisor, but you know what, we've got to go away from you because your reviews are only product centric. and service centric. Our reviews have to be about the people. EazyDiner is about the people. It's you know, and the food is important too. But I think the people who make your experience better. It's
but
the
so
chef
tell me,
cooking.
what are Indians eating these days? You have insights, so you tell us what's hot this season.
Okay, so you know, a lot of people are eating a lot of stuff actually, but
obviously,
but I think what's hot. Let me start with beverages. I think what's hot is you know, unsweetened cocktails. What's hot is authenticity. What's hot is different cuisines once back again. You know, I remember many years back, you know, at Oberoi we opened Banthai, and it was a rage of a restaurant and did very, very well. And then everybody started opening up Thai restaurants everywhere, and then they all went away. But I think today it's becoming very focused on a cuisine. So if you are doing a restaurant, so I went to this restaurant in Calcutta called Sonar Tori. They do regional Bengali food. And for me today, it is among the top 10 restaurants in the world that I've ever eaten at. And they only do Bengali food, Nantara. And I've never eaten Bengali food that much, but the food is absolutely exceptional. So I think the future belongs to restaurants which are very differentiated. But I also believe, Nantara, in any business, the future belongs to you if you're differentiated. If you're doing everything that everybody does, it's a pretty difficult climb until you're Amazon, who can afford to do everything that everybody does. Yeah, but the future belongs to Spotify over Apple Music because they can curate your music better, although Apple Music comes preloaded in your phone. So I think you need to be differentiated. And I think, so a lot of people...
Who's doing a good job of that? And it shows on the EazyDiner platform that, yeah, these restaurants are doing it differently.
So I think, you know, we're very surprised with this restaurant in Calcutta, Sonar Tori. I hadn't even heard of it, but when I went to Calcutta last, I actually went and ate there because it's one of our top performers in Calcutta. I think Burma at Cyber City is doing a great job.
In Gurgaon, yeah.
I think in Gurgaon. I think social across the board. I think Riaz Amlani's redefined the category of what a cool bar and a co-working space on how they can come together and play that. I think Zorava's doing a great job with his restaurants, whether it's Farzi, whether it's Masala Library, he's always raising the bar. I think Anjan Chatterjee is the real leader to put mainland China or Calcutta to get food really accessible. I think Ashish Kapoor is doing a great job with Whiskey Samba and all the great, the Kimono Club and all that he's launching. But I think he did a bigger service to India with Yo China, standardizing Chinese food. Okay, that he doesn't talk about too much nowadays. He talks more about that. And I think, you know, I think Kabir and Rahul are doing a great job with Mama Goto. Means I order from it all the time. Means every time, I think in the NRI meeting also we were meeting, I was telling them, I said, guys, no matter what happens, I'm a big fan. So I absolutely love the great Chinese food they're doing. I think hotels are doing a great job in evolving different levels of cuisines and the kind of food that that's coming in across the board. And I see some great restaurants and hotels. I think ITC Hotels did a great job with the way they marketed Indian food and took Indian food global.
Timeless, yeah.
Yeah, it's timeless with Dampuk.
Bukhara and Dampuk.
Yeah, yes. So, and I think Oberoi did a great job with 360, 361. The redefining
Oberoi did or Kapil did?
No, not me. The all-day dining space. I think that was a great move. I think Marriott's doing a great campaign on redefining banqueting, for that matter. So I see, you know, and amazing stuff what Taj has done with selections in terms of carving out their criterias, in terms of creating iconic brands like Golden Dragon, expanding the base. I think a lot of innovations happening there. And in terms of, if you really want to ask me in terms of digital penetration, I think what Taj is doing really, you know, I would have hated to say this 2 years back, but now I can tell you. But what I think in terms of digital penetration, in terms of what they're doing, how they are monetizing their inventory, how they're working with Prime, how they're not working with Prime, means just the way that they are doing this is absolutely amazing. I think adding a great digital strategy in play there, and they've got you know, over 300 restaurants.
Okay. So with that, Kapil, I'd like to wish you all the very best. Thank you for the interview.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks.